Strategy number one for becoming conversational in Korean is to buy yourself a pair of headphones that go around your neck and that have onboard storage. Then you want to upload as many hours of pure Korean native dialogue that you can find. Podcasts are a really good source of this. Upload that all onto there so that at any moment during your day when you're not using your ears for something else, you can just pop them in, turn them on, press the button, and the audio starts. This is way better than just, using like your AirPods and your phone, because then you gotta make sure Bluetooth is connected. You gotta flick through your phone. You gotta pull it out of your pocket. You gotta find your AirPods. Like too much friction in that process. You want to just be like literally one movement and one click away from getting started. Do that all day, every day for a month. And what will happen is you'll start to realize subconsciously that you just know what to say in a certain situation without even really remembering having learned it. It's kind of like magic. But this is just the way that babies' brains work. It's the way that we all learn our first language. We are just immersed in, all these dialogues, and our brain just pattern matches. This works really well. You got to put some faith in it. You're not going to understand what's happening for the first few weeks, but just give it a month and it'll click. Strategy number two for becoming conversational in Korean is to go and spend a year living in Korea, if it's possible. If it's not possible, I might honestly reconsider even trying, because the effort required to get over that initial hump is, in my opinion, it's going to be sustained 2 to 3 years of hardcore effort, which is very hard to do outside of Korea, because you're not really motivated by anything except for your own internal drive, unless you're around people who are speaking Korean, unless you have to speak Korean. If you go and live in Korea, and importantly, if you stay out of the kind of foreigner bubble where everybody just speaks English or whatever other language, if you force yourself to only make friends with Koreans who speak very little English or no English at all, if you do that, you're going to have ample motivation and chances to practice, and you are going to reach conversational fluency in a year, I think even less. There's this kind of initial difficulty spike of learning any language, this hump you have to get over. And until you've gotten over that, you're basically always at risk of just falling back to where you started. Once you get over it, then, and by the way, you've gotten over it when you can sort of consume the language in a way that isn't super high effort. You can watch a show without subtitles and still understand it. You can listen to the music and know what they're talking about. If you bump into a Korean person somewhere, you can have a conversation with them. Like once you reach that point, then the language becomes sort of self-sustaining for the rest of your life. But until you reach that point, it's just you're always at threat of losing all the kind of progress you've made so far and all the work you've put into it without getting any kind of reward. So, in my opinion, the most important thing you can do is get over that hump as quickly as possible. And the best way to do that is to live in Korea for 1 year. Third strategy for conversational Korean is to focus your studying on sentences and phrases more so than focusing on vocabulary and grammar rules. This is how we all learn our first language. We hear a sentence in the wild, we observe the context in which it was said, and our brain just remembers that. We pattern match. When you learn this way, you are going to sound much more natural. You're not going to be doing that typical thing that we do when we learn a second language, which is that we come up with a phrase in our head in our own language, translate it, and then send it back out. And we make all kinds of mistakes because it doesn't work that way. And it's also slow, that process. Instead, if you learn entire phrases, you're going to get the vocab and the grammar rules automatically, but you're also going to get kind of speed and sort of a natural conversational ability, let's say. Now, it's not going to get you, high scores on some kind of language test, but it is going to help with the conversational level more than anything else, in my opinion. For me, my favorite way of doing this was that I would use something like Anki flashcards, basically, and I would watch a Korean drama, and as soon as I found a sentence that where most of the words in the sentence were familiar, but maybe like one word kind of raised a sort of a flag in my head, like, what did that mean? I would pause the video, I would turn on like a screen recorder, and I would play that part of the video again and record it. Also, I had Korean subtitles on the screen. So this would create a little clip where I had the image of what's happening in the scene. I had the text from the subtitle, and I had the audio of the person speaking it. And this combination of the text, the visual, and the sound gave my brain so much context to hook onto when it was trying to memorize this phrase. Even the fact that like I already knew what most of the words in that sentence means meant I could use the context of that sentence to identify, to kind of like guess at what the new word means. This might sound like cheating, but it's actually exactly how our brains work best, how they learn best, is by kind of hooking on to familiar and understandable context. So this is, in my opinion, the best way. Obviously, still study, grammar rules and vocabulary as it comes up, but dedicate, I think, 80% of your efforts towards phrases and sentences.